My name's Ethan Carter. I'm 37. Until recently, I thought I knew exactly who I'd spend my life with. For 10 years, I built my career as a financial analyst at a major investment firm called Mercury Capital. At work, I managed millions of dollars with calm precision, but at home, I was blind the obvious. That morning started like any other. 5 a.m., a jog through a quiet suburban neighborhood, then a quick shower. In the kitchen, the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Olivia was still asleep. Her dark hair spilled across the pillow, her face peaceful, untouched by the world. Back then, I had no idea what that calm was hiding. At work, my boss, Richard Simmons, a former Marine, and, ironically, Olivia's father, called me into his office. "Got a minute?" He rumbled in that voice that could still silence a room. Of course. He set a folder on his polished oak desk, the scent of varnish still fresh. "I want you to lead the West Invest acquisition project. Board presentations on Friday." I nodded. Consider it done. But he didn't pull the folder back. Instead, he clasped his hands and looked straight through me. "One more thing. David Harper wants to discuss an investment opportunity. Asked for you specifically." I tried not to laugh. Harper, one of Olivia's old conference buddies. I only knew the name. "I'll set up the meeting," I said, keeping it professional. That evening, I left work early. I wanted to surprise Olivia, a small gesture. I picked up her favorite Pinot Noir and some aged brie she loved. In my jacket pocket, a little box with emerald earrings that matched her eyes. A year from our wedding day. Why not make her smile? When I got home, silence. The lights were off. On the kitchen counter, a note, "Met with Lena. Don't wait up. Love you." Lena, her sister. They were never close. Strange. Her laptop sat open on the table. Normally, she kept it locked with a password. Something felt off. I stood there staring, then clicked. Emails. From David Harper. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Same hotel. Missed you." My chest tightened. For a moment, I hoped it was some misunderstanding, until I saw the next thing. A bank transfer receipt. $500,000. To Harper. Yesterday. My phone buzzed. It was Richard. "Ethan, are you home?" His voice was hoarse. "Yes." "The files for West Invest. From your office. They're gone." I froze. I set the phone down for a moment and thought, sometimes what feels like the end is just a rough draft of a new life. You just have to be brave enough to sign it with your own name. By April, Carter Investments no longer looked like a one-man startup. 2 assistants worked at a scuffed old table that still smelled of fresh paint. I hadn't spent a dime on renovations. The walls were cracked, but inside, everything was clean on paper and in conscience. In March, I closed my first real deal. An eco-startup raised $120,000, cleanly, with no kickbacks, no whispers. Looking at the signed papers, I thought, that's my first million-ruble equivalent earned the right way. No shadows, no parasites. That night Logan called. "You ever sleep in that cave of yours?" He laughed. "Careful you don't start buying rings again." "Why would I need rings?" I asked, watching March snow drift past a window. "I'm fine. Alone." "Alone," he echoed. "What about Haley?" I stayed silent a moment. "You believe gossip now?" "Not gossip, brother. Just look in the mirror. She's not your ex, don't wait too long." I didn't answer. Truth is, things were steady. Once a week, Haley would drop by with folders, bring new clients. We'd sit in cafes until late, discussing reports. Sometimes her hand brushed mine. Nothing more. There was respect in her eyes. And for now, that was enough. A week later, the receptionist buzzed me. "Mr. Carter, Richard Simmons is here to see you." I froze for a second, then said, "Send him up." He entered slowly, coat tailored, expression calm. His eyes scanned the office, from the old coffee maker to the chip cabinet. "Making yourself a nest?" he asked, almost warmly. "Better my own nest than someone else's cage," I said, gesturing to a chair. "Have a seat." We sat in silence for a minute. He studied the whiteboard full of diagrams, then finally spoke. "I've been watching you. You took the hit and built something from it. No scams. No begging. You earned it. Good work." I waited. "I've got a question," he said, meeting my eyes. "Would you take Simmons Group as a client?" "On one condition, everything above board." I smiled faintly. "In my world, there's no other way, Richard. Numbers. Contracts. That's all." He nodded. For a second, I saw fatigue in his eyes. "Olivia's gone. Staying with her mother in Florida. Therapy, I guess. Don't know what'll happen next." "I don't care," I said evenly. "The past stays buried." He stood, extended his hand. "Then I suppose we'll meet again, for business." We shook. His grip was cold but firm, like the handshake of a man who's finally let go. After he left, I didn't go back to work right away. I stood by the window, watching spring snow melt on the sidewalks. It vanished the moment it touched the ground. Like anything built on a weak foundation, my phone buzzed. "Haley, you at the office?" "I can stop by. Need to discuss a few new clients. And something personal." I smiled, slipped the phone into my pocket, closed the folder on my desk, and switched on the kettle, because now I knew the value of words, and that every new step begins when you learn how to stand on your own. "It's Haley Simmons," the voice said. I paused for a second. "Olivia's sister. We met only a couple of times. Family dinners, polite smiles. She always kept her distance, always watched me like she was measuring something. Something wrong?" I asked carefully. "I heard you started your own fund," she said after a pause. "Can we meet? I've got a few clients looking for someone honest." I gave a short laugh. "You sure you're not calling from her side?" "I've never been on her side, Ethan." Her voice didn't even tremble. We met at a coffee shop in Midtown. She arrived right on time. Plain coat, a notepad, a small stack of folders. "I'm not here to get involved in your past," she said right away. "But I know after what happened, you're not the kind of man who plays dirty. And these people, they only trust clean hands." She opened the first folder. Green Energy Startup. The second, Waste Recycling Company. The third, a volunteer foundation looking for someone to manage donations transparently. "You brought me all the saviors in New York." I smirked. She smiled faintly. "I'm an environmental lawyer. Sometimes honest money still exists in this field. It just needs someone who won't stab in the back like your ex did." There was no bitterness in her tone, just truth. I respected that. "All right," I said. "Let's give it a shot. But no games. I'm not walking through that fire again." "You won't," she said, looking me straight in the eye. "Not if you open the right door this time." "Olivia's long gone," I said quietly. Haley nodded. "Then maybe you got a chance to build something new, clean." A month later, I had 2 real contracts. Small sums, but every dollar was earned, not whispered about. No bribes. No backroom deals. Just work. I signed the first deal in that same shabby office with the peeling windowsills. Then the second. When the third project launched, I called Logan. Well, brother, he laughed. Your own money, your own business. No, Olivia. Did you ever think it'd turn out like this? Not in a million years, I said, stepping out onto the stairwell, breathing in the cold New York air. Even that air smelled like freedom. That evening, a message popped up on my phone. Haley, Ethan, another company wants to meet you. Eco-tech firm, clean model. Coffee tomorrow? I looked at the screen and smiled. Me? Sure. Just coffee. Strictly business. A green checkmark appeared. They didn't even have to question him. Harper broke the moment he realized I might go to the police. Richard flipped through a stack of documents on his desk. On the top page, my report, the very one that started this whole mess. You know, Ethan, he took off his glasses and looked me straight in the eyes. You were like a son to me. Honest. Direct. I thought maybe you could pull Olivia into a better life. He didn't say it with anger, just quiet truth. I thought so, too, I answered. The door opened. 2 guards walked in, dragging David Harper between them. His face was bruised, one eye swollen. Not badly beaten, just enough to remind him who was in charge now. Well, David, Richard said evenly, why don't you tell Ethan how you plan to screw us all over? Harper coughed, darting his eyes between us. It was all her idea, he stammered. Olivia said her dad wouldn't even notice if we leaked a few files to the competition. I just made the connections. I didn't steal anything myself. I looked right at him. The money? Gone, he said flatly. Casinos. Debts. His eyes were empty, like a dog that's been kicked too many times. Richard leaned back in his chair. I see. The police will handle it by tonight. Until then, you'll start sending back whatever you can recover. The rest, you'll pay when they lock you up. Harper whimpered, but stayed quiet. The guards dragged him out. When the door shut, Richard turned to me. What will you do now? Olivia knew what she was getting into, I said. I froze all joint accounts. She can't touch a cent, he sighed. His eyes were drained, no anger, no pity, just exhaustion. You want to see her? No, I answered quickly. The conversation's over. The rest is between you two. He nodded slowly. You know, I could offer you a position. Investment director. My former deputy is under review. The spot's open. I looked at the folder on his desk. My numbers, my years of work, all the proof that I'd earned that chair. But something inside me had already gone quiet. No, Richard, I said softly. I'm done working in places built on blackmail and betrayal. He studied me, then nodded with respect. You're doing the right thing. If you ever need anything, you know where to find me. I shook his hand, firm, steady, like between soldiers. At the elevator, I saw Olivia. She stood by the glass wall, pale, eyes red. Ethan, she whispered, not looking at me. You really told my father everything? Did you tell him everything, Olivia? I nodded toward the guards. The folder and the drive are in the safe. Your father's not blind. Neither am I. She tried to step closer. Maybe it's not too late. I looked at her hands. Thin fingers, still wearing the wedding ring that meant nothing now. It is, I said. The elevator doors slid open. I stepped inside. Olivia stayed behind, just a small, broken silhouette against the city skyline. She still didn't understand. It was over. The files are with me. Olivia finally said, avoiding my eyes. They're in the safe upstairs. I was going to, she sighed, that tired, fake kind of sigh. It's just business, Ethan. You wouldn't understand. I almost laughed. That's what you call selling confidential data to your father's competitors? Harper jumped in. We just want to get ahead of Simmons. Do you have any idea what they're paying? We could all be out of this mess for good. I looked at both of them, and it finally clicked. For them, I was never partner. I was the cover. The wedding? A front. The money? A bridge. The documents? They're jackpot. You're going to call your father, I told her calmly. You'll tell him you're returning the files in the drive, today. She shook her head hard. You can't. He won't understand. You'll destroy everything. I'm not the one who did, I said quietly. Harper must have thought he could fix things with force. He shoved my shoulder, rookie mistake. I turned, pinned his arm behind his back, and pushed him against a marble column. Gasps rippled through the lobby. No one stepped closer. Where are the other copies, Harper? I hissed near his ear. Who else has them? There's no sale, he choked. Just a down payment. The rest tomorrow. Come on, man, let go. I released him. He slid down the wall, coughing. Olivia stood still, fists clenched. You don't know what you've done, she said through her teeth. You're ruining everything. No, I answered. You already did. I pulled out my phone and called Richard Simmons. He picked up instantly. He'd been waiting. The documents are found. I said evenly, they're in the safe at the Grant Hotel. Room 841. You can send your security to collect them. Harper will be there. Ethan, Richard's voice was cold, sharp, the kind of tone that ends careers. You're sure? Absolutely. And you'll finally see who your daughter's been negotiating with. I hung up before Olivia could say another word. She reached for my sleeve, desperate. Please don't. Her eyes glistened with tears, practice ones. I knew that act by heart. It was over. Harper pushed himself up, trying to save face. You'll regret this, Carter. No, I said quietly. You will. I walked outside. The air smelled like rain and exhaust. The ring was gone from my pocket. Only my hands remained, hands that would never hold her again. My phone buzzed. Logan, everything good? Everything's going according to plan, I said. I took a long breath of cold air. Her father would handle the rest. And I smiled, not from joy, but from clarity. Sometimes a war doesn't start with a gunshot. It starts with a return ring. Next morning, 7:30 a.m. downtown New York City. The Simmons Group Tower loomed over gray skyline. Inside, security was waiting, 3 large men in black suits. One escorted me to the elevator. Silent, a shadow at my side. 50th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows. The city below looked like a scale model under glass. Richard Simmons sat behind a massive desk, arms folded. He looked like a man who hadn't slept all night. Sit down, Ethan, he said evenly, his tone as cold as February asphalt. I sat. The polished table reflected the overhead lights, smooth, flawless. You understand what they try to do? He asked, not breaking eye contact. Completely. Harper already talked, he said. Your brother's team caught him trying to leave the city. He gave up everyone involved. I just nodded toward the guards at the door. Richard gave a faint, bitter smile. I opened the safe behind the bookshelf. Empty. The flash drive and the folder, gone. They're gone, I said quietly into the phone. Damn it, Ethan," Richard snapped. "That's not just numbers. If those files end up with our competitors, we're finished. Fix this fast." Then the line went dead. I stood there in the dark living room, phone in hand, feeling everything inside me tighten into ice. Most people would have lost it, yelled, "Smash something." Not me. The Army taught me. Emotions come later. Now you make a plan. First thing, I froze all our bank accounts. Then I called my brother, Logan, a former Special Forces officer. "Logan, I need your help." "What's going on?" "Find Olivia's car. I think she's with Harper. Granton Hotel." "Got it. What next?" "Wait for my signal." In the bedroom, I open a smaller safe. Inside the ring, 3-stone diamond, the one I planned to replace on our anniversary. No screaming, no drama. Let them figure out themselves. I just leave a gift. An hour later, Logan texted, "Black BMW, Granton Hotel, room 841, ordered champagne." I slipped on a black dress shirt, tailored slacks. The ring went into my pocket. Outside, the air was cool, the sky heavy with clouds, like even the weather was warning me. At the Grand Hotel lobby, I handed the concierge an envelope with a folded note and a $100 bill. "Deliver this to room 841 and log it, please." He glanced at the message, nodded quietly. I didn't wait by the elevator. Instead, I sat in the bar, corner table, single glass of whiskey. Never touched it. 20 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. Olivia stumbled out, buttoning her dress, eyes wet. Behind her, David Harper, looking lost, like a dog who just got caught stealing food. I stood up. She saw me and froze. "Ethan," she began, her voice trembling. "The documents, Olivia, where are they?" I asked evenly. She stood there in the middle of the Granton lobby, pale face, shaking lips, but the same eyes, perfectly trained to look like the victim. "Ethan, I can explain," she whispered, barely audible. People turned their heads in the bar. "Explain." I stepped closer, calm as ever. "Where are the files from my office?" Next to her, Harper straightened his shoulders, trying to look like the alpha male he thought he was. He should have buttoned his tie first. "Listen, man," he began, reaching for my shoulder. Old reflexes kicked in. I caught his wrist, gave it a firm squeeze, enough to remind him bones can still feel pain. "No, man," I said quietly. "Step back." I shoved him slightly toward the wall. He backed off, rubbing his wrist, silent. Olivia rolled her shoulders, trying to regain control.